Hello tacticians, if you are looking for information about Atlacoya, who is the latest character to be added to the Adeptus Custodes, then you are in the right place. But first of all, let me say thank you to everyone who supports the channel, whether it's through using my friend code or hitting that subscribe button, as it really does help me out. And for you, for every 1,000 subs that we get, I get a new character code to give out, so it's a win-win. Now let's move on to Atlacoya, which is the reason why you're here. Unlike the other Adeptus Custodes, she does not get martial Qatar. However, she isn't completely defenseless in combat, as she has both parry, where it reduces the number of incoming melee hits by 1 to a minimum of 1, along with terrifying, which is reducing the amount of damage by 30%. So once she's in combat, she's going to be pretty safe. Or at least I hope so. She uses that great big power sword of hers to chop up the enemy, and like all of the other Adeptus Custodes we've seen so far, she is restricted to using the ceremonial knives, which have a 25% crit chance, but they do have a higher crit damage than the bolters. Her equipment, she can either have the mantle or the greaves, where you can either just have armour or armour and health. My personal favourite is armour and health. And finally, she has the frag grenade, which increases her crit chance, which is something that she requires because of that lower crit chance of the knife as it is. So now we've seen her general statistics and traits, let's have a look at her abilities. Let's start with Talons of the Emperor. This is the active skill which you will not want to use at the beginning of the battle. You really want to hold on to this as long as possible because it deals power damage to an adjacent enemy and it deals more damage for each time a friendly character has used an active ability this battle. If the target is a Psyker or if Atlacoya is adjacent to another Adeptus Custodes, and it'll deal direct damage instead. Now, one thing we're going to have to look into is, does this stack with people such as Tangida, who can use their ability every turn, or is it only with the Custodes who have that refresh timeout where it will stack? Hopefully we'll be able to have a look at that in a second. But this is very possibly going to be a massive damage output against a guild raid boss, for instance, at the end of the battle. And I think for this one purpose alone, she is going to be amazing. Now, it only has one hit, but remember with Trajan, that's going to go up to 3. And that additional damage is going to be applied to each one of them. This is going to be a very powerful hit. It's definitely something to think about. Then you've probably got what is my favourite ability name out of everything here, the Daughter of the Abyss. Great name. Atlacoya takes less psychic damage. She doesn't care. You're not hurting her with psychic. That's what the Sisters of Battle do. They are the anti-psychers. In the Warhammer 40k lore, they're actually surrounded by this null field, so no psyker can use any abilities. And psychic damage dealt to other friendly units within 2 hexes is also reduced by a certain percentage depending on the level. And then, if that wasn't enough, enemy psychers within 2 hexes receive more damage. So you know that meme? It's her and Shark. I'm sorry, Shark, you have been completely replaced. This girl is just a better version of you. And to be honest, I suppose that's not difficult. I think she has been unfairly overlooked because of all the information that was dumped at us at the very beginning of this release. Lucius, I will admit, is very exciting, but don't overlook this girl. So let's have a look at her on the battlefield. So before we get into her abilities, I always like to do the Overwatch test versus Calandis, as they are one of the more popular Overwatch characters to have. So, not dead, but not healthy either. The other Custodes we have seen have done better against Calandis than that, so don't use her for this purpose. First, let's look at Talons the Emperor. This will deal power damage to an adjacent enemy unit, and it will deal extra damage for each time a friendly character has used an active ability. Then, if the target is a Psyker or adjacent to a friendly Adeptus Custodes, it will do direct damage instead. So, if we currently just look at Atlacoya's normal attack, you can see that it's going to do less damage against Malladus because of his Terminator armor. Therefore, if we use Talons the Emperor against Malladus, it's not going to do much. So, we'll do that again. This time we'll move Trajan next to her first, and now we'll do the same attack against Malladus, And there you go, completely bypassing that Terminator armour. A very useful skill to have. And bear in mind, the more times you use an active ability, the more damage it will do. So as I mentioned earlier, does someone like Tangida's active ability count towards it? Now I've got Titus here to count the number of abilities that are used, and as we have expected, it only counts 1, even though I've actually gone back and forth off camera 10 times for Tangida. So we're not expecting this to actually increase, but let's see. No, we did probably get 1 extra in there, but obviously not the 10 times. So what about Baraqiel? So I've shot 5 times with Baraqiel, and the Titus counter shows that it's been done 5 times. So now if we use Atlacoya's active on Maladus, well, that was a lot of damage, but he does survive with that resilient trait, which is kind of to be expected, because you're not going to kill someone like Maladus in 1 blow normally. So what this means is, although we can't actually see a counter on Atlacoya to see how many times that Talons of the Emperor gets buffed, it is there behind the scenes, and it works in exactly the same way that we've seen it work in the past with Titus. So we'll carry on where we are with Daughter of the Abyss, where she takes less psychic damage. So we've got Typhus here, who is more than willing to take revenge on Atlacoya after Baraqiel has shot at him several times. And as you can see, he's only going to do 1 damage. Pink. He must have got a crit in there, he got 48. And as you can see, Typhus at the moment could target Tangida for 217 damage. But if we flick back and forth and just make sure he's within 2 of Atlacoya, you'll see that also drops. So she's got this lovely aura around herself to help reduce that psychic damage. And if we look at the amount of damage that Tangida would do, 86. Although this probably isn't the best demonstration of Atlacoya's ability. If we move Atlacoya away, it goes down from 86 to 74. The damage is so low because of Typhus's Terminator armour, but it shows that her positioning is very important to stop the damage coming through and to increase your damage against Psykers. Now, a number of guild raid bosses are also Psykers. There is definitely going to be a case for using the Adeptus Custodes in guild raids because they can reuse their abilities. I'm going to keep a very close eye on this team, and it might just be a Custodes team that needs to be used, but I could see Baraqiel possibly being included as well, although maybe not, to see if they will actually make a new guild raid team, and, well, time will tell. Is Atlacoya worth it? If you're an existing player with most of the characters anyway, you're going to unlock her anyway. If you're a newer player, probably not so much, as, to be honest, she's going to need at least the rest of the Adeptus Custodes to make her good. However, if you are an existing player, and the question is, do you gear her up? Then it really comes down to how much faith do you think that a new guild raid team will come about based around the Adeptus Custodes? I think there's a very good chance. They can reuse their active abilities, which are always very good against guild raid bosses. This character really benefits from that reuse. At maximum level, you're adding on 1,000 damage for each time an ability was used. Add on top of that, you get the extra 2 attacks from Trajan. It could be a team, but you will be risking it. It still may not be as good as the mechanical team, which is by far the best team against guild raids there is. However, for guild wars, if you're active there, this team is going to be crazy. For legendary events, I imagine she's actually going to be quite good too, because of the same reason Shark is, that reduction of psychic damage. There's a track where we faced 1,000 Suns. If all of a sudden all of those pink horrors are doing no damage, all of a sudden she's worth her weight in gold. Or maybe Blackstone. So to sum this up, is she worth it? More than likely, but I can't guarantee it. And it could be that she's just going to be useful in the legendary events and, of course, the guild wars. I am still very excited about this character, as I really do think people are overlooking her. If you like these videos, then it would be much appreciated if you at least think about using my friend code, as it really does help me out. Or if you or your guilds are looking for a new home, please reach out to any of the guilds shown, as we'll always welcome new people into our midst. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the battlefield.